everyone, my name is Anna and today I'm going to be comparing the camera of the iPhone SE2 and the older iPhone 5S. This video will mainly focus on still photos taken in low light and videos recorded at night. So before I start, please keep in mind that the videos throughout are both recorded at its maximum potential, the iPhone SE2 at 4K 30 frames per second and the 5S at 1080p 30 frames per second. The first scene we have here is a typical recording that most of you would take while strolling through the city at night. The SE2 on the left seems to be much brighter and more accurate in terms of lighting as to what I saw when I was walking. This is not the best recording, so it's kind of hard to see, but notice there is a red jogger on the other side of the street. He's much more difficult to spot on the 5S since it is substantially dimmer. So now moving on to some close-up shots, we can see on the 5S the purple flowers are a bit fuzzy, but you can still see the camera tries to focus on the bunch of flowers in the front and blurs more of the background. When you look at the same photo on the SE2, the purple flowers are depicted a bit clearer, but overall the brightness and colors are still pretty much the same. You will be able to see this in the side-by-side comparison here. The 5S on the right is again overall blurrier than the SE2 on the left. Notice in the background the difference in texture of the brown dirt and how the grass is much more clear. You can differentiate how clear the flowers are when I crop the photo. On the SE2, the purple petals are separated a little better and the veins of the leaves are more defined as well. In this next close-up shot, you can see the grass is again not as clear on the 5S compared to the SE2. However, the color of the grass is not too far off from each other. Also notice the sky on the SE2 is a bit washed off. Hopefully you can see it better when it's cropped. The background colors on the 5S are more vibrant than the SE2. The next picture I have here was taken with the HDR on. The SE2 seems to perform better at night as it is able to define the plants and leaves on the tree more, and the light from the lamppost does not streak as much compared to the 5S. So now we'll move on to some night recordings. In this first one here, the major difference between the two devices is how fast and how well the camera is able to focus. Notice the hanging lights on the 5S has a bokeh effect for the first few seconds as it does require some time to focus. The SE2 on the other hand does not have this lag in low light. Also notice how much darker the sky is on the 5S. You can see that the sky is pitch black on the right and the left shows more of a true tone of the sky. Generally, subjects shot on the 5S seem to be fuzzier as well. In this next recording, you can again see the major fuzziness of the neon lights and how the people in the shot are much blurrier on the 5S. Notice that in the SE2, most words on the lighted up signs can be read a lot more easier. The 5S seems to have a hard time doing this and just blurs the majority of the background and the foreground. This next scene was shot a little earlier in the day but still in low light. As you can see, the sky in the 5S is not only more contrasted but also has a more grainy texture to it as well. On the SE2, you can see the lines of the cement tiles on the ground better, and although the sky is more washed out, the orange shirt of the skateboarder seems more vibrant. The next shot here was taken around the same time. Very similar to the previous recording, the sky on the 5S is grainier than the SE2. However, the color seems to be quite similar on both devices. As I zoom in on the 5S here, you can see just how blotchy the sky is, whereas it is a lot smoother on the SE2. Notice that you can't see much of the parallel lines underneath the blue roof on that 5S as well as on the SE2. So in this next night shot here, you can see a mushroom rabbit looking thing in the background. Notice that you can define the leaves a lot more clear on the SE2. And here you can see the cropped image. Just look at that grass on the SE2. Look how clear it is. Notice that it's very defined and you can see each little strand of grass. Whereas you compare it to the 5S, notice how undefined that grass is compared to the SE2. It's more grainy, more fuzzy. You can just clearly see it. Here you can see the cropped image of the grass on both of them. Notice it's a little washed out on the 5S versus the SE2. Now this next shot here is a nice photo of an antenna tower taken at night. I can't see much of a difference here until you get to the bottom with the wall. You can see that it's more grainy on the 5S. So looking at this next still photo, I can't see much of a difference here other than the light streak of the lamp on the 5S. It's much more stretched out. When you do zoom in on the 5S here, you see that the sky is very grainy, the flags are grainy. You can't see much of that motorcycle in the very far end there. You can see a faint light, whereas on the SE2, it's less grainy, less fuzzy, things are more defined, and the biker there, you can see the red light better. So hopefully you can see it better here on the side-by-side comparison. The 5S doesn't pick up as well when it comes to long distance. So this next shot here was taken while I was recording a video. Notice that on both devices, they don't work too well when they're trying to capture something that's moving. You can see the girl on the bicycle. It's very blurry on the 5S. The background lights, it's pretty fuzzy as well. And on the iPhone SE, it's a bit more clear, but still it's blurred out. So on the side-by-side comparison, you can see just how drastic the differences are in low light. So I did try to take a panel on both devices, but it didn't turn out that well. But anyways, you can see that for the iPhone 5S below, surprisingly it's not as grainy, whereas the SE2, you can see when you look on top, it's a lot more grainier for some reason. But other than that, there's not much of a difference from what I can see. So now we'll move on to some zoom shots. This first one here was zoomed in one time. You can see that the paint peeling off of that pole on the SE2 is a lot more defined, whereas on the 5S it's more fuzzier. When I zoomed in even more, you can just see how fuzzy it is on the 5S. The SE2, it's more smooth. You can see the round ball is more defined around the edges. But for this last night shot here, I want you guys to take a moment and try to guess to see which photo was taken on the 5S and which one was taken on the SE2. Both pictures are pretty blurry when you zoom in, but one of them is a bit more clear, and I'll let you guys decide to see which one is that. So as you guys can see, the photo on the right is actually the one taken by the SE2. If you focus on the green pole in the middle, you notice the edges are a lot smoother, and the man sitting on the right there, he can be more defined as well. So that pretty much wraps up our SE2 and 5S camera comparison. Of course, it's expected that the SE2 camera would generally perform better with clarity and lighting, but I did like how the 5S was more vibrant in some cases and picked up the colors just as well. Please let me know what you think about the two devices in the comments below. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more updates. Thanks for watching.